So I would like to take a few moments to talk about the crack that appeared on Shigaraki's face in the middle of this chapter. I reread the chapter quite a few times just to make sure I missed anything. If I missed a potential point to where Shigaraki took a hit in the face by Endeavor, Bakugo, whoever, that potentially could have caused him to have his face to start to form a crack down at where, his eye is. But after looking at the previous page, even the page when the crack actually appears on the panel, it's clear to me that the crack most likely has something to do with the ego of All For One kind of taking shape inside of Shigaraki's mind, or it has something to do with the 75% completion of him truly obtaining All For One. It's definitely one of those two things, because while reading this chapter, I was constantly puzzled, like, what's going on here? Why is this crack appearing, and why wasn't it there, but, in the previous page, and it just randomly appeared after he says, the quirk will be mine, little brother. And I'm just like, it's clear that whatever's going on there is something extremely important that needs to be dived into, so that's what I'm going to do. So what does it necessarily mean? What does this apparent crack on Shigaraki's face represent? Is it something to do with, like I already said, the 75% completion rate of, Shigaraki gaining All For One? Is it the ego? Or is it actually Shigaraki's quirk in general having negative backlash to his body? See, this is something that has always been very apparent. Something that many of us have wondered for a very long time, is Shigaraki's decay quirk actually has a weakness. Like, is it possible the reason why, he has, itches and stuff is because his decay quirk actually affects him, but very slightly. Like, it slightly affects him. And maybe it's possible that because of him now having All For One and it's kind of messing with his body, maybe his quirk decay is actively really affecting his body in a negative way, and maybe the crack formed because of that. But like I said, it really is up in the air right now what is causing it, but I just think it's highly interesting. It's definitely going to lead to something incredibly important for the conclusion of this fight. If Shigaraki is going to overcome what is before him, or will he have to escape with Gigan and the other, League of Villains and stuff? It's a lot of questions. But okay, so let's get right into it. I want to take a moment to talk about Mount Lady in this chapter. I'll be honest with you. I expected maybe Mount Lady to somehow try to stop Gigan. I talked about this about maybe 3 or 4 chapters ago when we had the whole Tokoyami stuff. I talked about how Mount Lady might do something, but she was probably going to get just completely destroyed. Because when you look at everything that's been presented already from Gigan, he's a monster. He's like a legitimate mountain that cannot be stopped. He's an immovable object that will just keep moving and all that. And when you think about Mount Lady, she has been shown to be very strong. She is definitely a strong hero, but from everything we have seen from her, it just didn't seem like she would be able to stand up against literally the Chad himself, that is Gigan. But apparently there is a way for Mount Lady to actually do that. She is legitimately holding him back. Now, there is a couple things to factor in, though, about this, is that obviously, Gigan is a little bit handicapped. He can't just full power through either, because if he does, the people on his back, like Toga and all of them, are going to get knocked off. And obviously, he doesn't want to upset his master, which is Shigaraki, so he's got to be a little bit slower, calmer. He can't just be very disruptive, start moving around, doing backflips and stuff. He can't do that. He's legitimately got to be very careful, because he's got precious cargo. So he is at a disadvantage. And it's kind of ironic, honestly, that someone that is a villain, and Gigan at that, is actually handicapped very much that how heroes are normally handicapped. I find that very interesting. Hopefully I'm not the only one that actually finds that interesting. But the point though is that Gigan, he's in a difficult spot, but even then, I'm just extremely shocked that Mount Lady is even able to willpower herself to hold him back. Even if she's able to hold him back for just a few seconds, that really does count, because every freaking second she holds back Gigan, it increases the chances for our characters on the battlefield with Shigaraki to actually survive and not die. For instance, Aizawa not dying, Endeavor not dying, Bakugo not dying, etc. It's increasing their survival rate. Now, I think it's very clear that Shigaraki is not going to go down this arc. It's common sense. Anyone that believes that he's going to be captured and taken out in this arc clearly hasn't been following the story. So it's obvious, even if Shigaraki does not win this encounter, he will escape. It's just gonna happen. Something's gonna happen to where he's able to go. But getting back into the main point, I'm trying to say, though, is that Mountain Lady being able to stand up to Gigan is just incredibly ballsy. I'm just so shocked to see a character like Mountain Lady that has been this background character for a very long time, kind of like a minor character, actually have such a crucial role. Like, it's honestly just amazing. I could see many actually saying Mountain Lady's one of their favorite characters after this chapter and the upcoming chapters, depending on how long she's able to hold him off. I mean, she's not going to hold him off forever, but just seeing what she's doing, props to her. Like, seriously, she really is gritting her teeth and not allowing Gigan to get through her. She's trying everything she can to slow him down, which, by the way, speaking of Gigan, what he's carrying on his back, it's clear that he's carrying Spinner, he's carrying Mr. Compress, he's carrying Dabi, he's carrying Toga, but if you look very closely, you'll be able to see Skeptic as well on the back, so it's clear that there is other members besides just our iconic group of League of Villains. You have a lot of the Paranormal Liberation Front as well, a part of the group. And it makes me wonder if maybe Redestro is on, Gigan's back, or is Redestro on the battlefield going to be fighting right behind him? But seeing Skeptic on the back, though, is interesting. It does make me wonder where that's going to go, because him jumping on Gigan, I wonder if Gigan picked him up, or if he just jumped on Gigan's back to be able to ride to safety. So many questions, but we know that Skeptic really does care for Redestro too, and the will and all that, so I don't think he would just leave Redestro around either, like leave him there just to get captured. So yeah, but anyways, let's talk about other stuff. So let's talk about the surprise with the whole ego of All for One. So can we just congratulate Shigaraki for overcoming something in a chapter that Izuku was not able to overcome for like over 100 chapters? You remember all of like Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, and partial Season 4, Izuku has been struggling with imposter syndrome. He's been struggling with the fact that he feels like he is impersonating All Might. He feels like he's just All Might. He's not his own person. He's not his own hero, his man, etc. He feels like he's just an imposter. He feels like he doesn't deserve One for All. This was a major character arc for him, especially in the Overhaul arc. We have seen him overcome this issue of him feeling like an imposter, but now seeing Shigaraki in this chapter, it just goes to show that Shigaraki really is such a interesting individual. He's able to overcome what Izuku struggled with. Even up to this very point, he slightly struggles with it. He feels like an imposter, which kind of goes back to the previous conversation that All for One mentioned a very long time ago. If you remember when he was defeated, when he actually got dragged to Tartarus and put in prison, he made an interesting statement. He said that with me now being out of the picture, Shigaraki is being forced to leave the nest, actually become his own man. He has to do things now. He's forced and pressured to do things now because he no longer has the backing of his major supporter, which was his master, All for One, so he was forced to grow at a very rapid rate. He was under a lot of pressure, and he made fun of All Might because All Might should have died. If All Might would have died in that battle against All for One, it would have inspired so many others, countless others, not just Izuku, to build themselves to be a lot stronger, to be able to stand up as a wall slash barrier against villains, people like Shigaraki. But thanks to All Might kind of being alive, it made it to where it stunned Izuku's growth. It kind of stunned him to where he didn't really feel like he needed to grow that quickly because he didn't have that pressure of All Might actually gone. He didn't have All Might support anymore. And so that is interesting to see how that is actually coming into play, that All for One was correct. Is like, thanks to him not being in the picture, Shigaraki is being able to grow, while Izuku has been stunned in his growth because of just how All Might is still around. Which, speaking of which, I do want to talk about the ego stuff. I want to get back into that. Shigaraki, he straight up denied. He denied All for One about, like, this is my body, my mind, I am truly grateful to you. Like, I am grateful for everything you've done for me. You saved my life. You made me have a better life. Even though you're a villain, You have made me have a better life, and I truly, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, and I think of you like a father. That it's clear what Shigaraki is trying to say. He deeply does care about All For One, but he's like, regardless of that, regardless of my feelings for you, I am not you. I will not be you. I am not you. I will become my own man that will even surpass you and become greater. And I think, honestly, if there's anything that is any emotion from All For One, I do really believe All For One is happy that Shigaraki is like that. Because if Shigaraki was weak enough to have his body taking control over an ego of All For One, I don't think All For One would have ever picked him. He wants someone that is able to fulfill his goal and surpass things that he was never able to do. He realized he failed and someone needed to carry on his legacy. And I feel like if Shigaraki was to necessarily not be able to overcome that, he obviously wasn't the proper successor. So I think at the end of the day, All For One's probably incredibly happy that Shigaraki was like, no, this is my body, this is my power now, and I will do what I want to do. Which does bring into question now, does he want One For All still? See, that is something that I'm wondering about, because that's been up in the air now since he obtained All For One and he started hunting after Izuku, was that he was being driven to grab One For All. And we don't really know if All For One is really capable of that, because from everything we know, One For All cannot be taken unless, you know, Izuku allows it, or the user of One For All willingly gives it up. Now, we don't really know about, you know, mental manipulation or anything like that, but the point is like, from everything we know, All For One is not able to directly force the quirk away. But because of all the upgrades and everything, maybe it's potentially possible. And that's the thing. Does Shigaraki still want the quirk now? Now that he's kind of disconnected himself from his master, he's no longer driven by what his master wants. Does he want that quirk? Now, we gotta think about Shigaraki's ideology, what he's fighting for, what he's trying to do. He's not necessarily just trying to destroy. He's trying to destroy, then recreate society. He's exposing society of how fragile it is, and how there is so many people that have these quirks that are just dangerous, and people, you know, or there's so many heroes that are not able to do anything to protect everybody. It's just a completely flawed system. We have seen it constantly with many different perspectives throughout many arcs of My Hero Academia, and it makes you wonder now, if he does still want to get One For All, why is that? Well, think about the irony of it. If Shigaraki was to get One For All, it would be so disrespectful to all heroes to kind of crap on the society like the strongest quirk, one of the strongest quirks that upheld justice for all these years, is now in the hands of villains, and now villains are the ones using this powerful quirk that you deemed amazing, this quirk that was able to keep you all completely safe. It's fascinating, honestly, and I do think that it makes me wonder if he's still going to go after it, but he just has different reasons now. So, the weakness that he potentially had in the past about being driven by that desire, that craving to have it, might be gone, but once again, he's at 75%, and he has a crack on his face now, so we don't know if that's going to come back. The ego of All For One's going to come back and try to take control again or not, but we'll see. But I think I want to leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And with that, I love you guys. Be safe, stay healthy, and I can't wait for tomorrow. ReZero time. But okay, Chibi out.